Welcome back, everyone. This is Steve Bone. I'm here with the second letter in the Orton Gillingham method of teaching phonics. And the way this is designed to work is we would do one letter and sound a week. So last video was the C. We would spend all week getting used to the C. We'd be writing it. We'd be saying it. We would also be doing activities with it, such as making a C out of glue and glitter, or making a picture of something that begins with the C. We would also during that week be going over characters and settings and events in a story. A different day we may go over beginning sounds and words, and when Monday rolls around again, we'd introduce a new sound. And we would also go back to last week at the beginning of the lesson on Monday and reintroduce the C. So at the beginning, I have my card right here, we would start with C says K. So we keep these sounds around so that the kids continue to get exposure to them and they continue to ingrain it in their memory. So we go C say K, and we go okay. Now this week we have a new sound we're going to learn. We're going to start by listening to a sentence. And I want you to know what sound you hear at the beginning of each word. Oggy, octopus, ogles, olives. Right, if you need to, you say it again. I usually like to stretch out when we're first starting. When we're first starting our sounds, I like to stretch that beginning sound out, because a lot of them probably don't know what the beginning sound is. Oggy, octopus, ogles, olives. Right? Once they get that, you move on. You go, what sound do we hear in the middle of each word? Hop, on, top. All right, and stretch them out just like that so the kid's able to hear that sound in the middle. Right? And then you go on, and we have some kind of auditory visual connection with the word. And so have you ever had a sore throat when the doctor looks in your mouth and tells you to open wide and say, ah, and have the kids do it, ah. And for fun, you could even have like a little flashlight and look down their throat, and they're all going, ah. Right? You make the correct sound, and your mouth makes the shape of the letter. Right? And if they're not doing it right, you could say something like, oh, I can't see the back of your throat yet, and have them really go, ah. And that way it'll get the mouth in the right shape, and it'll get the right sound coming out of their mouth. Now if you want to take it a step further, you can even have a little tongue depressor, or you can give one each to them with the letter on it, and go ah, and they can press down on their tongue and make the sound. And so after that, we would move on to writing our letter. You hold up the card, okay. This is our letter O. And O says ah, and there's a hand motion that goes ah. And so from here on out, every time you do the letter O, you'd have them do the hand motion ah. That way it's making more connections in their brain. And then we'd move on to letter formation. We have our house here. Again, if your student needs it, you can start with that outline. Sorry. So you can either do a highlighter here or do an outline with some dashes. Either way, it's the same idea behind it. All right, we say, look, we start at the top of the ceiling. We start at the ceiling. We come down, we touch the floor, and we come back up. And that gives us our ah sound. Okay, now I want each of you to write in the house, and as you write, I want you to say, O says ah, and they'll do it. And this is the part where you're checking on them. And they, okay, yes, that's a good looking O. I want you to do it 3 more times. Or if they didn't get it right, you say, let's practice again. And then on the next line, you practice again. Change this up here. Like I said, I'm going to do it 3 more times. And when you write it, you should be saying O says ah. So we have O says ah. O says ah. O says ah. There you go. Okay. Circle your best ah sound. The one that looks the most like my example on the board, or the one I wrote, and put a star next to it, or a smiley face or something. Okay. And now we would come down here, all right. Can we think of any words that begin with ah? And if they're having trouble, you can pull up some pictures. All right, here's an octopus. All right, octopus. And then you'd spell it here. I'm running out of room, so I'm just going to put octo. All right, and if someone says something like cat, all right, you don't poo-poo it. You just write on top here, cat. All right, here's cat. What does cat begin with? It begins with k, so it does not begin with ah. And you do a few more words like that, and then we move on to our story. Sorry, I was reading through it. I forgot to reset it before I started the video. Alright, so here we have a book called My O Sound Box, or My Ah Sound Box. And we come through. The little boy had a box. I will find things that begin with my ah sound, he said. I will put them in my sound box. And the thing I like about this, it has a picture for box, so they can be learning the word, excuse me, be learning the word box as they go. Little boy hopped along. Hop, hop, hop. And you can have them look, okay, do we see any words that have the ah sound in it? And you can have them point to them, you know, O says ah, O says ah. And this way they're also learning that sounds are part of a word. Even though they may not know the other sounds, they're recognizing, hey, here's all these other letters. They have sounds too. He found otters in a pond. Did he put the otters in the box? He did. Little boy found an octopus. Did he put the octopus into the box with the otters? He did. But the otters did not like the octopus. The otters hopped out of the box. Hop, hop, hop. Little boy put a top on the box so the octopus could not get out. Then he put the otters on top of the box. Away he went, hop, hop, hop. Then little boy found an ostrich. He hopped on the ostrich. Hop, he said. But the ostrich would not hop, so little boy put the ostrich on top of the box. Now the box was very heavy. Little boy found an ox. You are just what I need for my box, he said. Away they went, hop, 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 all the way home. Little boy took things out of the box. What funny things he had. And at the end, this particular book has a word list. And then we got other words here with the short O sound. At this point, I wouldn't do the long O, because that'll have its time and place in a different lesson. And this particular book has more to do. Okay, I'd be careful when you read with a purpose or intent, because a lot of people, when they read, they try to throw too much into it. If reading this book, I would focus just on the ah sound. I wouldn't worry about things about like characters or settings or sequence of events. I would focus just on that ah sound. Otherwise, you're trying to throw too much in there. That's just from my experience. Again, I work in a special education setting, so if you think your kid is up to par, up to task, go for it. But just in my mind, this lesson was about ah, not about those other things. All right. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I will read them and answer. Have a good day.